My name is Alex. I'm 31, and I've always been the extra sibling in my dad's second family. That's how they made me feel, at least. I was born from his first marriage. My mom passed away when I was 10, and by the time I was 12, he had married my stepmom, Denise, and they had 2 kids of their own. From the outside, we looked like your average blended family. From the inside, it was like living in a house where every room had a door you weren't allowed to open. My stepmom always had a polite smile for me, but it stopped at her lips. My half-brother Ryan, 2 years younger than me, made it clear from day one that he didn't consider me real family. My sister Ellie mostly followed his lead, though she had moments where she seemed like she wanted to connect, until Denise would glance over, and suddenly Ellie would be cold again. I spent my teenage years learning how to exist quietly in that house. My dad, well, he wasn't cruel, but he was passive. If Denise wanted me excluded from something, he'd go along with it. If Ryan pushed me too far, he'd sigh and say, "Let's just keep the peace." I grew up learning that if I wanted a place in this family, I had to work for it, earn it. So that's exactly what I did. I got good grades, paid for college with scholarships and part-time jobs, and when I graduated, I landed a solid job in tech. When COVID hit, I helped everyone in the family set up home Wi-Fi, got them on Zoom, even fixed Ryan's resume so he could land a remote job. I never heard a thank you. I wasn't expecting one, but deep down I still hoped. That hope was stubborn. Maybe if I helped out more, showed up more, did more, eventually they'd see me. Eventually they'd stop treating me like the ghost in the corner of the group photo. So when Easter rolled around this year, and Denise texted me in the family group chat asking if I could help organize things, I said yes without thinking twice. She said it so casually, like she wasn't dumping half the holiday on me. "Could you clean up the house a bit before folks arrive? Would you mind confirming with the caterer? Oh, and the kids really love that egg hunt you did last year." It didn't feel like a request. It felt like my usual invisible job description. But still, I said yes. I booked the caterer myself, paid the deposit up front, nearly $700, since Denise said she'd Venmo me later. Spoiler, she didn't. I showed up early to clean, scrub the guest bathroom, arrange the folding chairs, even ironed the tablecloths because she had mentioned they looked wrinkled in last year's pictures. I did it all while they were out getting their nails done or shopping for matching pastels at the mall. By the time everyone started arriving, I was already exhausted, but I smiled anyway. I wore a nice button-up and even put on those shoes that pinch a little because I knew they looked good in photos. I helped the kids with the egg hunt, handed out baskets, kept count to make sure no one ended up crying over missing candy. Denise watched from the patio with a mimosa in hand, never once offering to help. My dad grilled outside while nodding absently to whatever Ryan was rambling about. Crypto, or his new sports car, or how 9-to-5 jobs are for losers. I just kept smiling. Dinner was served buffet style. I made sure the line stayed orderly, refilled the drinks, helped Ellie carry a tray when she said her wrists hurt. But when I finally sat down, plate barely touched, Ryan looked up from carving into his ham, gave me this smirk, and said, "Funny how you think any of this makes you one of us." He laughed like it was a joke, but no one else laughed. My dad kept slicing the ham like he didn't hear it. Denise didn't even look up. Ellie glanced at me, then looked away. And that's when something just broke in me. Not loudly, not all at once. It was like a quiet, final snap, like the sound of thread pulling free from a button. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just sat there for a moment, staring at the plate in front of me, at the roast potatoes I'd helped arrange in a perfect spiral that morning. And then I laughed. Quietly. Not at anything funny, just the absurdity of it all. The absurdity that I'd spent over a decade trying to earn my seat at a table that was never set for me. So I stood up. No one noticed right away. I walked out through the hallway, into the coat closet, and picked up my laptop bag. I had brought it in case I needed to hop on a quick work call, but now it had a different purpose. I walked out to the driveway and opened the trunk of my car. I had a folder there, labeled clearly, with receipts, copies of signed contracts, and bank statements. I pulled it out. Back inside, I walked past the dining table, past Denise and her perfect centerpiece and Ryan and his smug, empty grin. I didn't say a word. I walked straight to the fuse box near the laundry room and shut off the circuits labeled Main Kitchen, Outdoor Lighting, and Media Center. Then I walked out the front door, and I started taking back everything that had my name on it. I didn't rush. I wanted to feel it. Every step, every second of reclaiming what was mine. It wasn't about vengeance, not yet. It was about clarity. The kind that settles over you when you stop begging to be chosen and start choosing yourself. I popped the trunk, pulled out the list I had printed weeks earlier but never planned to use, not unless they pushed me too far. Well, Ryan had done the honors with just one sentence. The first item on my list? The outdoor heater. I bought it last Christmas because Dad mentioned Denise was always cold during patio dinners. I unscrewed the gas line with the little wrench I kept in my emergency kit, wheeled it carefully to my car, and loaded it in. The sound of the back gate creaking open caught my attention. It was Ellie. "Alex," she asked, voice low, cautious. "What are you doing?" I didn't stop moving, taking back what's mine. She stepped forward, hesitant. "Wait, are you okay?" I mean, Ryan was being. Ryan. I paused and looked her in the eye. "You laughed last time he told me I should be grateful Dad didn't ship me off to Mom's family. You didn't speak up then either." Her mouth opened slightly, but nothing came out. I wasn't angry at her. Not really. I think she wanted to be decent once. But being decent in that house meant being different. And different wasn't safe, not if you were one of Denise's kids. She backed off without a word. I turned back to my list. The surround sound speakers came next. I had installed them myself last summer, spent 2 full days threading cables through drywall while Ryan sat inside complaining that I was making too much noise. He still bragged to his friends about how his setup was better than a movie theater. I unhooked every cable, coiled them carefully, and packed the speakers into the original boxes I kept in my garage. If I paid for it and installed it, it was mine. The security system? That one was easy. I owned the subscription, had the admin login, and installed every camera. One click on my phone, and the network unpaired. Every camera blinked twice, then went dark. I deleted all the saved video logs while I was at it, just for good measure. That's when Dad finally noticed something was wrong. I heard the front door open. He stepped out slowly, holding a half-eaten roll in his hand like he'd forgotten he was still eating. "Alex? What's going on?" I didn't turn around immediately. I was halfway through coiling the garden hose I'd bought, because, of course, there's had a leak no one fixed for 2 years. "Taking back the things I brought into this house," I said, not even looking at him. I figured it's time I stopped pretending I belong somewhere I'm not welcome. He stood there, silent. Then came the sigh. That familiar, tired sigh he used every time he didn't want to confront something. "This isn't necessary. Let's not make a scene." I stood up straight and turned to face him. "You think this is a scene?" What Ryan said back there wasn't a scene. What Denise does to me year after year, that's not a scene. You've stood by every time she's cut me out of family photos, forgotten my birthday, told the caterer I wasn't part of the guest count. And you said nothing. So no, Dad, this is me finally saying something. He didn't answer. Just looked at me like I was overreacting. Like I was the problem. I smiled. "Don't worry. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to break anything. I'm just going to finish collecting what's mine, and then I'm done." And I meant it. Over the next hour, I dismantled the patio lighting, my gift 2 Easters ago, pulled the smart TV from the living room wall. Denise had wanted something sleek, and even removed the backup generator I bought during last year's power outage. Everything I paid for. Every little thing they had grown used to having, but never once thanked me for. Ellie never came back out. Ryan didn't bother pretending to help. Denise? She stood in the kitchen window, arms crossed, face unreadable. She didn't look angry. She looked inconvenienced, as if I were interrupting her meal prep. When the car was full, I opened the trunk and placed one final box inside. It was the custom Easter centerpiece I made out of wood and hand-painted ceramic eggs. Denise had praised it once to a neighbor, called it charming, then told me not to bring anything so rustic next time. I took it anyway. I left nothing behind that had my fingerprint on it. As I closed the trunk and got in, I heard the front door creak open again. This time, it was Ryan. He didn't yell. He didn't smirk. He just leaned against the railing with a soda in his hand and called out, "You seriously think anyone's going to miss you?" I rolled down the window just enough and looked him dead in the eye. "No," I said, "but they'll miss what I brought." Then I backed out of the driveway, watching the house shrink in the rearview mirror. The house I used to think I belonged to. The house that had taken so much and given so little. But what happened after I drove away? That's the part no one expected. And it's where the real fallout began. It took exactly 3 days for the first message to come in. Not from Ryan. Not from my dad. But from Denise. It was a short text. Cold. Sterile. "Hey, Just noticed the thermostat system is offline. Could you check it? The house feels like an icebox. I didn't reply. Instead, I screenshotted the message, archived it, and moved on with my day. See, what Denise didn't realize, what none of them realized, was just how much I've been holding together in that house. The smart thermostat? Registered in my name. The mobile app that let them adjust the temperature from their phones? Licensed through my account. I had set up the Wi-Fi mesh system, linked the devices, made sure their router firmware stayed updated. Every time Ryan bragged about how modern and seamless their home was, he was bragging about my labor. My money. Later that afternoon, my phone buzzed again. This time from Ellie. Hey, not sure what's going on, but none of the TVs are working. Did you cancel something? I considered replying. Ellie was the only one who ever came close to treating me like a person. But then I remembered the dozens of times she looked away when Denise took verbal jabs at me. The way she laughed, nervously, but still laughed, whenever Ryan said something cruel. I didn't owe her anything. Instead, I logged into my streaming service accounts, Netflix, Hulu, Prime, and hit the sign out of all devices button on every single one. I changed the passwords. Added 2FA. The next morning, the group chat lit up. Dad texted, Alex, is there a reason all the house lights are flickering? Ryan texted, bro, what is this? My Xbox won't connect. Did you mess with the Wi-Fi? Denise texted, this is really immature. You're making a point. We get it. You can stop now. I didn't answer. Not yet. I wasn't ready to speak. Instead, I did something else. I called the contractor who had helped me install the backup generator last year. It wasn't cheap, almost $5,000, but I put it on my credit card and paid it off over time. They'd never even offered to pitch in, even after the blackout last December when the whole neighborhood lost power and their house stayed fully lit. I still remember the thank you I never got. I told the contractor I was moving homes and needed the unit relocated. No problem, he said. He could have someone out by Friday. They were still texting when the electrician showed up. Ryan tried to stop him at the door. You can't just take that. This is our house. But the paperwork? It was clear. Purchase receipt in my name. Installation contract under my billing address. Ryan stood in the driveway, shouting at a man holding a clipboard, while the generator was carefully disconnected and loaded onto a truck. That image, him flailing like a toddler denied a toy, was a little gift from the universe. That night, I finally answered. Just one message, sent to the group chat at 11:47 p.m. Don't worry, I'm just doing what you all taught me. Taking care of what's mine. I muted the chat after that. But the fallout wasn't over. A week passed. I focused on work. I bought new furniture, updated my space, finally got that espresso machine I'd been eyeing. Life felt quieter. Lighter. But then, something strange happened. My dad called. I stared at the screen, unsure what to do. He never called. He let Denise or Ellie handle the family communications. Still, I answered. Out of curiosity more than anything. Alex, he said after a pause, we need to talk. His voice sounded different. Not angry. Not commanding. Just tired. What about? I didn't realize how much you were doing for this family, he said, slowly. I guess I let some things slide I shouldn't have. I didn't say anything. Let the silence stretch. I was wondering, he continued, if you could at least send the new Wi-Fi password. Ryan's been having issues with his remote work setup. I laughed. A quiet, single laugh. It wasn't bitter. It was almost amused. I'm not your IT guy, Dad, I said. I was your son. Once. That didn't seem to count for much. He didn't know how to respond. I could hear it in the way his breathing hitched. Is this really how you want to handle things? No, I said, but it's how you handled things. For years. Then I hung up. That night, I started going through my accounts, utilities, insurance, subscriptions. One by one, I removed my card information from everything connected to their address. The water bill? Gone. The electricity autopay? Canceled. I left them with the standard service plans, no discounts, no perks. Let them call and sit on hold for 3 hours like everyone else. I thought that would be the end of it. But 2 days later, I received a letter in the mail. Not an email. A letter. Thick envelope. My name written in cursive. Inside was a folded piece of paper with my dad's handwriting. It started with, Alex, I know I haven't been the father you needed me to be. I didn't read the rest. Not right away. I sat there, letter in hand, thinking back over every year I'd spent trying to prove myself worthy of a family that never tried to meet me halfway. And just as I was about to crumple it and toss it in the trash, I saw something else tucked behind the letter. A check. For $700. The exact amount I'd spent on the Easter catering. I stared at it. That's when I realized they were scared. Not just of losing services. Not just of inconvenience. They were scared because, for the first time, I had stopped asking to be seen. And I had started showing them what it felt like to be invisible. I sat with the check in my hand for a long time. It wasn't about the money. It never had been. That $700 wasn't even a drop compared to the thousands I had spent over the years, the holidays, the tech, the furniture, the utilities. But still, seeing it written out like that, signed in my dad's careful handwriting, made something inside me pause. It was the first time anyone in that house had attempted to repay me. Not emotionally, not with an apology, just a transaction, a number. It felt cold, but also revealing, because now I knew exactly what I was worth to them. $700. Not a second more. I didn't cash the check. Instead, I walked over to my kitchen drawer, pulled out an old envelope, and slid the check inside along with the unopened letter. Then I tucked it behind my tax documents. Not out of sentimentality, but because I wanted a reminder, a physical receipt of how far I'd come, and how far I wasn't willing to go back. The following week, I got a call from Ellie. At first, I didn't pick up. I let it go to voicemail. She tried again the next day, then the day after that. On the fourth call, I finally answered. Her voice came through soft, like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to speak to me. Hey, hey, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I said nothing. Not yet. I wanted to hear what she thought everything meant. I didn't stand up for you. I let Ryan talk to you like that. I let Mom treat you like help. I always knew it was wrong, but I told myself it wasn't my place to fix it. That it was easier not to stir things up. But I saw how they looked after you left, Alex. It was like something cracked open. Everything felt exposed. Quiet. Even Ryan stopped talking for once. I still didn't reply. I read your old message again, she said. The one in the group chat. The one where you said you were just doing what they taught you. Taking care of what's yours. I think that hit harder than you realized. It wasn't meant to be poetic, I finally said. It was just the truth. She sighed. Yeah, that's the part that hurt. There was a long silence between us. Not tense, just honest. Then she added, they're talking about selling the house. That made me sit up. What? Yeah. Dad says it's too much to maintain now. The heating's a mess. The outdoor stuff's broken. And well, Denise is embarrassed. She had friends over last week and the power flickered during lunch. Ryan lost a freelance gig because the Wi-Fi dropped in the middle of a call. So, I said slowly, now that things are inconvenient, they want to give up. She didn't argue. They don't even realize it wasn't the stuff I took that broke the house. I added, it was the foundation. I know, she said quietly. That's why I'm not calling for them. There was another pause, and then she said something that surprised me. I want to stay in touch. I don't care about Denise's side of the family anymore. I miss my brother. My real brother. That hit me in the chest. Harder than I expected. Because for all the years I felt like I was shouting into a void, here was someone on the other side, whispering back. Then show me, I said gently. Not with words. With actions. I will, she promised. And to her credit, she did. Ellie started coming by once a week. Sometimes she'd bring food. Sometimes we'd just sit and talk. We kept it light at first. Work, books, random stuff on TV. But slowly, we got into deeper things. She started telling me how much pressure she felt growing up, being the perfect daughter in Denise's image. How exhausting it was to pretend all the dysfunction was normal. How guilty she felt every time she laughed at Ryan's jokes, just to avoid becoming his next target. I told her the truth, too, that I had spent most of my 20s thinking I just needed to do more to earn love. That every time I got them a gift, or fixed a problem, or paid a bill, I hoped maybe this would be the thing that finally made me feel like family. And how, in the end, it had taken walking away to realize I didn't need to earn anything. That I'd been enough all along. Meanwhile, the rest of the family? They didn't change much. Denise still posted filtered pictures on Facebook, pretending everything was fine. She told her friends I was going through a phase. Ryan made a few jabs online about ungrateful siblings and drama queens, but he knew better than to tag me. My dad called a few times. I let it go to voicemail. Sometimes he left long, rambling messages. Other times, just a quiet, hope you're doing okay, son. I listened, but I never replied. I needed more than voicemails and checks to undo years of silence. About 2 months after Easter, I got an email from my old electrician, the same guy who had removed the generator. He told me he'd been contacted by a realtor looking to install a new generator at the same house. They're prepping it for sale, he said. Thought you'd want to know. I did. So I drove by one afternoon. Just parked across the street. The house looked smaller somehow. The yard was unkempt. The patio furniture stained from weather. The wind had knocked over one of the garden statues I'd bought. No one had bothered to fix it. A for sale sign stood in the front lawn. Underneath, a smaller sign. Price reduced. Motivated seller. I stared at it for a long time. Not out of bitterness, but because I finally understood something. That house hadn't been a home in years. Not for me. Maybe not for anyone. It was just a stage. And I had finally walked off of it. Months passed. Ellie and I grew closer. We went on sibling hikes, shared playlists, even planned a weekend trip together. Real memories. Built from scratch. With no catering, no perfect lighting, no curated appearances. Just the two of us, rebuilding something honest. Eventually, I took that check out of the drawer. I didn't cash it. I framed it. I hung it above my desk, not as a trophy, but as a reminder that the best repayment I ever got wasn't a dollar amount. It was freedom. Freedom from needing their approval, from chasing their affection, from dimming myself just to fit into a broken picture. And as I stood in my own space, with my own life, surrounded by things I chose and people who chose me back, I realized the family I wanted all along wasn't the one I was born into. It was the one I chose to build after I stopped begging to belong. And that was worth far more than $700.